Oh, okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Progress.
Okay, hello everyone. It is Wednesday, March 4th, 2026. It is 5:30 PM. And this is the Library Board of Trustees meeting for the city of Palm Springs. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Juanita Garner,
Here.
David Norgard,
Present?
Al Jones.
Here.
Gary Brackett, Deborah Schwartz are not here.
Okay, can I have an acceptance of the agenda?
So moved?
So I'll second.
Second, yes, sorry.
I was waiting
You
for
got
you.
an
We usually
important
do it
job
this way.
tonight.
We usually do it that way.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll move on to public comment. This time has been set aside for members of the public to address the Library Board of Trustees on agenda items and items of general interest within the subject matter within jurisdiction of the city. Although the Library Board of Trustees values your comments, pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda. Everyone has 3 minutes. Do we have any speakers? Okay, okay, thank you. Okay, we will move on to the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to accept that?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Administrative reports. Do you have some information from the Friends?
Yes.
Great.
So the Friends had a very successful house tour during Modernism on the 19th. They also were able to sell books at the house tour, and they earned an additional $1,200 just selling books at the house tour.
Wow.
And their house tour was sold out, so that was a very successful event for them this year. They've also had 2 Palm Springs Speaks events, one on February 10th featuring Cheech Marin, and then the other on February 24th featuring author Wade Rouse, and both were very successful. They have their annual meeting coming up. You should have all received an invitation, and they encourage you to RSVP. It is on Sunday, the 15th of March, from 2 to 4 at the Mizell Center, and you need to RSVP to attend. They are planning a upcoming sidewalk sale at the church on Saturday, April 4th from 10 to 1. And that is all the information I have for the Friends. Any questions?
Can you remind us of the church? What church?
Our Savior. Yes, I could if I could remember.
Eros and Ramon.
Yes, it's on.
Okay.
Yes, Ramon and Caballeros.
Good.
Yes.
Ramon and Caballeros.
That's the
Yes.
Catholic church.
It's Lutheran.
Lutheran. Our Savior Lutheran.
Yes, it's right on the corner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Our Savior Lutheran. Yes. Sorry.
Okay, and the Palm Springs Public.
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Just a couple questions, Julie. Who is the speaker or the featured topic at the annual meeting? Has that finally been decided? It
Yes.
wasn't at the last meeting?
Yes, so the featured speaker is Deb Smith. She is a photographer and artist. She actually had a show at the library a couple of years ago. And she kind of does mostly like modernism type of things, mid-century modern type of photography, but she has quite a story. She lost her home during the fires in Altadena, and so she's been recovering from that and doing lots of other things. So she's mainly going to focus on her art, and they will have some display of her art there, but that is who will be featured.
I see, thanks. My other question is about Palm Springs Speaks, specifically the Cheech
Marin?
Marin event. How did it go? It seemed like sales of tickets were kind of slow.
Well, it was a little slow. I mean, it was technically our first, with the
Yeah.
other situation, it was a little bit hard to kind of get on track again. But towards the end, sales did pick up, and we had a really good turnout. And the VIP event was well attended, and the interview on stage with Manny De La Rosa, everyone very much enjoyed. We got a lot of very positive feedback in the survey that we sent out to attendees. So I think it was well received. And same with Wade Rouse and Steve, in conversation with Stephen Rowley. We got fabulous results so far on the survey that we sent out on that. And we do have 2 more events coming. We have Cece Moore, the genetic genealogist, coming on Monday, March 30th. And she's going to give a presentation. So her presentation is going to be very fascinating. And then we're going to conclude the season with actress Jenny Garth, best known for Beverly Hills 90210. But she has a book coming out, and she'll be talking about that.
Excellent.
And that's April 21st, in case I didn't say that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I just wanted to say a little bit about the Cheech Marin event. I went to that, and I mean, it was packed in the reception ahead of the interview. But it was amazing. I learned so much. There was so much information, and I think most of the people that I talked to were like, wow, I didn't know that, and I didn't know this, and it was very, very interesting.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Julie. Okay, and on to Palm Springs Public Library Foundation.
We're coming up.
Okay. Oh, you brought an entourage this time.
It's an invasion?
I-
You got
yes.
reinforcements.
Well, we're almost outnumbering you. So 2 of the committee chair people are here. That's Hale Kobayashi, and Hale runs our development committee. And then I asked Jim Gray, who's in charge of our technology group, to give us 4 or 5 minutes, having had the benefit of Jeffrey Hill on the last meeting, and so we'll do that. Before we do that, we have two things to do. One is to review, what happened in February and what we're looking forward to in March, which is a lot. And then just briefly walk through the mid-year report that you've got. And then I've asked Jim for 3 or 4 minutes on technology, which hopefully I can tee up for you in a few minutes. So as far as the board goes, we haven't been doing anything. February was pretty much sort of closing down the annual drive and keeping the capital campaign fundraising efforts going, and getting ready for some events that I'll tell you about that are happening in March. Starting with CV Giving Day, which was yesterday. First time that we were really involved in that. It was kind of cool to be involved. And we got 20 donations, $1,200, which is good. 10 of those 20 were new donors to us. So that's helpful. And we were in a contest. I guess we lost, because I didn't hear that we won. But if you got 10 or more, you would be entered into the contest. The other thing I wanted to tell you about, because I always extol the virtues of our board, but there was a committee meeting the other day, and Peter Pearson said, wow, we're in CV Giving Day, and if we get 10 donations, then we get to be in the contest for a big award. And 3 people on the committee, while they were meeting, put 3 donations in. So these are the kind of people we have on our board. So that was good to do. Sunday night, March 8th, we have Cocktails on the Page, which I'm happy to report. Julie, we're getting close to 100, or are we over 100 yet?
I think, yeah, you're over 100 now. I think it's 105.
It's really nice. Yeah, it's fantastic.
And sales go through Saturday.
Through Saturday, right. So we still have a few more days to ramp that up. And that'll be at one of our board members' homes in the movie Colony. And that will be Lucy Arnaz and Lawrence Luckenbill. They both have books. I think it's going to be terrific. It's 4 to 6 p.m. So if you can make it, we'd love to have you. And it's going to be a real nice evening, as it was. Then on, the 16th, we're going to have another capital campaign evening with some selected guests that we've reached out to continue support and donations We had a real nice event at our treasurer's home, Gary Grace's, and we're going to use the same locale this time, or for that event, as we are for Cocktails on the Page. It'll be in the movie Colony. And we already have over 60 people coming to that event. So hopefully you can all come to that as well, because that will be fun, and it's a great networking opportunity, and people enjoy it. So come on by for that. On the 21st of March, we have the 1 PS picnic. And the main objective there is to be present with all the other not-for-profits and neighborhood associations in the city, and wave our flag and so on. But we also try to obtain emails so that we can do future communication and future solicitation from them. So we're looking forward to this. We kind of stepped up our contribution. So we will have like a half a page in the program guide, and hopefully they'll give us a nice location on the grounds and so on. And so again, that's the 1 PS picnic on March 21 at Ruth Hardy Park, and so come on by for that as well. Let's see. We set up a couple of administrative things. We set up our capital campaign accounts at Edward Jones, our financial advisor. So we've got accounts there that will allow us to segregate capital campaign contributions from contributions and the accounts for the foundation. So that's really good. The $1 million that you graciously matched for us has come over. It's in the bank, and it's going to be transferred over, and we're going to buy some CDs this week or early next week, as per plan. So we've got that going. We did have a little bit of a complication because we had to go through a transition. I don't know if you know that Pacific Premier Bank was purchased by Columbia Bank, and so we went through the gyrations that you need to go through to make sure your accounts were properly in order and so on. It wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be, so we were happy about that, and everything's done. So we did that. And we have our communications committee is starting to review our website, and Jim may be able to give a little bit of a better insight into that. We do want to thank you very much for the grant that you approved last month. We did expand Cara Van Dyke's agreement with us to include all of the kinds of things that we're doing. And anecdotally, I was at the Edward Jones office, and the office manager said, "Hey, I've been following you guys on Facebook." And I'd never heard anybody say, "I've been following you on a social media account." So that was kind of fun to hear. And so what we're doing is working. And that's pretty much, what we had going in February and what we're looking forward to doing in March. So it's obviously a busy month, as most not-for-profits have busy months in March. So we can go through the mid-year report, if that's okay. Is that okay to just move in?
That's fine.
Okay, thanks, Juanita. So I think there's four big things. One, we spent, this is the time period from July 1, 2025 to December 31, 2025. So those 6 months we spent planning for our capital campaign launch. And as you know, we spent, 4 or 5 years getting an organization together that could mount that type of an effort, and then we spent another 5 or 6 months really zeroing in on what we wanted to do and so on. And we had great help from Ed McBride and Jeffrey Norman, who are our two co-chairs of the Capital Campaign Committee, and some of the folks on our honorary committee. But we also had a lot of help from Daryl Tucci, who we hired to be our capital campaign consultant. And then Cara, as you know, came on in August and was able to, help us move that forward with the marketing and public relations surrounding that. So on October 27th, we launched the campaign formally. And as you also know, by the end of December, we had pledges of over $1 million. So we felt like that was pretty good. Now, we obviously don't want to stop, and so we're figuring out, what's the best way to go going forward, because we would love to get about $5 million into an endowment as soon as we can. People probably are more prone to say, oh, you're doing a building renovation, here's some funds. The endowment's a little bit more esoteric and a little bit more harder to grasp. But we've got really good, talented people working on this, and the creativity is going to come through. And so we have a high level of confidence that we can achieve those goals and keep going on that. The second thing is we have an annual drive every year starting in November, and we were very successful again this year, as I think I mentioned, about 50% more than we did the year before, and the year before was 50% more than we did before that. So we're very pleased with the funding that allows us. We go into our budget cycle this month, and we start planning for the next fiscal year, which begins in July, and having that those funds parked in our accounts is very helpful to us, because we can plan, and we can plan to do more, and we always have plans to do more. So it's good. The community's really been very responsive, and we really appreciate their support. We tried a few different things, different techniques and tactics, and they're all coming in positively for us. So we're happy about that. Thirdly, we did Pride on the Page, and Julie, thank you very, very much for all the help that you give on that particular event. And Pride on the Page was a success again. We don't go into it necessarily to make a lot of net profit out of that. What we do is we contribute, as we should, as a not-for-profit in the community, to the community and to the cultural scene. People that are working on that work extremely hard. We had some great authors, a lot of attendance, and Jim reminded me that even though we may not explode on the net profit, we get names, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
we out of Pride on the Page, we get 500 contacts, new contacts, and then we were able to run the data, and they support us at the tune of $29,000 to support the library. So if you look at Pride on the Page just by ticket sales, maybe it's not as lackluster, but these folks are showing up and supporting the library.
so there's these residual areas, and I think if you do it right and you're sincere about what you do, this community responds, and and then having guys like Hale and Jim with us to keep that rolling and apply their creativity and their experience helps us immeasurably. And then I guess the last thing would be we have some very talented people on the board. I probably bore you with my extolling of the virtues, but we've added a lot of great people here. Hale and Jim are two that have come to us within the last year, and I think one of the examples is that they see things that I don't see. They see things that the rest of the board doesn't see, and then they speak up, and we have a dialogue and a discussion. They make recommendations, and when they're good, we implement. So this is a good, healthy organization that understands that critique is not criticism, right? It's not a negative thing. It's a positive thing. And we've been able to, fortunately so far, incorporate many of the ideas. Jim came up with an idea that, because I was sort of floundering, or I felt like that the board was kind of floundering with technology and our utilization therein, and that we needed some help. And so he said, well, let me put a working group together. And we put a technology working group together, and that evolved and morphed into a committee and became a standing committee. And then we felt like it was so important that we needed to have Jim on our executive committee, because they should know all of the things that are going on, and then being able to give them the perspective, well, we could use this technology here, or we could try this over here, and so on. And I think that's worked pretty well so far. And we had a vacant position on our development committee, and Hale came forward and raised his hand, and I don't know, I said, well, you're on a suicide mission here, but no, I kid. But it does, when you come into a new board and there's 24 other people, and you take a committee chair right off the bat, you're putting yourself out there for the rest of the board, and we thanked him for that, and we're looking forward to having a full year of his assistance and help. But let me turn it over to Jim, because I wanted to give you an idea of where we think technology can go, and Jim's the guy to give it, and so I'll just, if you have 3 or 4 minutes, Jim.
Sure. Thanks, Bill. Thank you very much. So I joined the board about just over a year ago, February of 2025. And I'll just echo the comments from Bill, is like the board members have been very welcoming and collaborative, and it's just has been a fantastic experience. And so I sort of didn't know where I was going to end up as far as doing things, and Bill and I talked, and we use a CRM called Bloomerang. And Bloomerang sort of keeps contact of our sponsors and their email addresses, and we can take payments from them through that platform. And so we sort of dug in, because there was sort of an inkling of maybe where it's not set up the best. And what I quickly realized was that as I asked questions around how do we do donation processing, I mean, there's an operations there. And there were multiple people working, and I was sort of talking with everybody, and it's like, well, do you sync up with them? And like, no. And so all these folks were doing this work, but no one was really coming together to sort of align. It was working. And I should also preface my comments that, like, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. Like, so there are a lot of folks that got us to where we are a year ago before I started, and so it was working, like 100%. But I realized, like, okay, folks, maybe we're all working on this. Let's get together. Let's meet. And so we would get together on a weekly basis and share information. There was a lot of, as you can imagine, oh, wow, I didn't know that, or wow, we could do this, or we could change that. So things started to steamroll. And then that led to sort of more conversations around tech, and that led to the formation of, okay, we have a working group now, and then, as Bill noted, we sort of formalized this as a committee. In the work on Bloomerang, we realized that the way we had it set up, we could save, if we just change the payment processor, who hits the credit card, we'll save 3% on the donations. And so we captured that 3% back for the foundation by just simply updating a website, implementing it a little bit differently, and going forward with that. And we're keeping an eye on this. Like, the tech committee has launched an effort to say, is this platform the right platform for us? So let's raise the gaze, look out at all the different other platforms, and maybe this will be where we stay, or maybe we'll find something else that will suit our needs as we go forward. Bill mentioned the launch of the Capital Committee. You might be familiar, they launched the PSPLnextchapter.org. So the tech committee was talking, and if you go to PSPLnextchapter.org, you might notice it now is a subdomain to our main site. So we work to kind of integrate that second domain to a unified sort of experience for users. And there is a redesign of the website, and that kind of is going to further that sort of user experience. So lessen confusion as to, wait a minute, what are you doing over here, and what's this over here, and how do I engage with you? So that's ongoing work, which I imagine will go on for the next 12 to 24 months. And so then we, as part of the capital campaign, the Jeffrey and Ed and the consultant Daryl Tucci wanted to send emails, and they preferred a platform called Constant Contact. And just some quick stats since the last 12 months, the foundation has sent over 30,000 emails in the last 12 months. And what we think about in the tech committee is, okay, that's a lot. Is that a good thing? Like, how are we doing on that? And our delivery rate is we can actually get an email into an inbox at 92% of the time, which is high. And that means that our contacts are healthy. Like, we have good contact information for folks. Once we get that into the inbox, the industry average to open an email is 20 to 40%. We're hitting 55%. So the folks that want to hear from us love the library and open up emails. And that's a really healthy, we keep stats on every email we send to make sure that we're keeping these stats healthy. We have, if every email we send, a thing can happen is somebody's like, you know what, I'm tired of you, unsubscribe. So email marketers keep an eye on that. And we're consistently below industry standards of 1%. So people are not leaving in drones, but we do have an attrition of our contacts. So we're putting plans in place, as we mentioned at the 1PS picnic, to sort of say, hey, sign up to our newsletter. Like, we have to deal with the attrition that's organic. The other thing that the tech committee has done is just admin and good hygiene. So there was mention of social media. We didn't have access to the social media accounts. And it was a Meta Facebook sort of maze, and you couldn't talk to anybody. And they would, if you tried to get hold of the account, you got banned from Facebook. Folks were just getting banned. And so through some Harry Potter magic or whatever, I was able to get hold of an account and make it work. I know some folks still at Meta, and so we were able to get it to work. And so we now have, with the social media grant that you gave us, we now have control of social media, and Cara has come on board, and we can now start to grow it. And we're working closely with her to get folks, the big thing in social media is to get folks to share it to their networks and be excited about what we're doing in the library, or the foundation, excuse me. And then the other thing that Tech Committee does is we respond to data requests. So for any sort of fundraising effort, there's often requests that come in and say, hey, can you get us this information? Can you get us that information? And so we do that. And then we also did something pretty cool. This is Franklin, my co-chair on the Tech Committee. We were able to script and map individuals who were in our contacts. We were able to map them to their supervisors' districts. So we could actually reach out to folks and say, hey, you support the foundation, this is your supervisor, make sure they know that you are passionate about the library and the foundation. So our advocacy committee has a vehicle now to actually really tailor a message to our neighbors to say, hey, we really need your help making sure this, and our city council was very supportive, obviously, but we just wanted to sort of provide that data to the advocacy committee. So I'll wrap up, but to look forward, we're constantly looking and asking, how can we automate? How can we make this better? How can we, I talked to Bill a lot about this, is how can we deepen our relationship with our supporters? How can we make sure they know, as much as they care about the library, we appreciate it and we care about them? And so we're looking at that to not make it sterile and automated, but personalized and thankful, grateful for them. So
Thank you, Joe.
Sure.
Really appreciate it. I don't want to put you on the spot, Hale, but do you have any early comments from your months here?
Yes, so I reinforce that message. What a cool board. Great people, very collaborative group, so that's wonderful. And maybe I'll just add that we're going to be having a strategy session in May during our board meeting, our regular scheduled meeting time, to look forward, to pause a bit and look back and see where everything's come from, and then what does the organization need to be to best meet its remit going forward. So that'll be happening in May.
Thanks, Hale. And are there any, I blew through that mid-year report, so are there any questions on that, or any questions for Hale or Jim?
Any questions?
No question, but a comment if I can.
Okay, go ahead.
That I've made many times, but I want to make it again because Bill recognized the board, as did you. It is the most incredible board I've ever worked with. And I've worked with many, many boards, and I've been on many, many boards in 78 years around. And it's just an amazing group of people to bring everybody together, to technology and various things to really make it a productive, unified, and cohesive is excellent. And Bill's leadership, was unmatched. I really still will have to say. And at some point, I don't know, will we find out who the new successor is?
Yeah, you will.
Okay.
The election is in May.
Oh, is it in May? I thought it was March.
Well, the slate will be announced in March.
Ah.
So is Deb going to be in Japan or?
I don't,
I don't know.
Yes.
She's-
Yeah.
Probably in Japan. Well, you'll know.
okay.
And then the election, so the slate will be there in March. That'll be announced by our membership committee, Robin Meltzer, who is another fantastic
Right.
board member.
Yes.
And then we do the election in May, right before the strategy session that Hale mentioned. And then that executive team takes their seats on July 1.
Okay,
So there's a lot of planning that's been going on, and
good. Which is important to me, because I
Yes.
wasn't happy about your retirement. I was very outspoken about it. But I know you have so many good people on the board.
We do.
And I trust you and the rest, to come up with somebody, because your leadership, you've moved this forward, bringing the right people in. And it's really important. And I just want to publicly acknowledge that again. We could not be where we are fiscally with the foundation and the library fund if it were not for you and the other colleagues on the board.
well, I appreciate that. And I would say, too, that we were very fortunate to have the advantage of the grant that you gave us to hire Peter Pearson, because Peter's really literally the glue, for all of the volunteers that we have. He keeps things rolling. He has 30-plus years of experience, and well, you'll see him next week. He's coming in for the cocktails on the page and our board meeting and everything. So that'll be good.
Well, I will say, I never saw money disappear as quickly as $1 million that went boom. You did not sit on that at all.
No, I was at the bank yesterday, and you can't move $1 million from bank to bank easily. So
You moved it from our account quite easily.
Yeah, well, no, Jeannie did.
All right.
Yeah, she got her done. Anyway, but we're going to put it to good use as we promised.
know you will.
And it'll be protected and so on. And
No question about that.
we'll make real good use of the interest that we generate to keep pushing for future donations in the capital campaign.
David, you had a question?
Yeah, a couple. Let me just start with a technical question to Jim, if I may. Boomerang, you said? Boomerang, yeah, I always say that wrong. How would you say, let me ask this first. Is it the system that keeps the donor history then?
Correct.
Okay, right. And you mentioned that you might just take a look at it and compare it to others available on the market.
Correct.
And you're going to be doing that, sometime in this next few months? Or?
Yeah, so the logic is we have a subscription that is due in September.
I
So
see.
it's an annual subscription.
Uh-huh.
And you pay based on the number of contacts you have. And,
Right.
And we've increased our contacts. And so they sort of are invoicing us monthly we're over our contract. And so it's just a good time to sort of say, what else is out there? Is what we're paying for the best for us? And I think it's also like, I'm mindful of the fact that I was sort of like ingrained in my head, you have to think about the person that comes after you. And so if I go out and get this like high-tech platform that I just love and I can do my coding and stuff like that, and then I hand it to, somebody else and they're like, I don't know how to use this. So we're kind of balancing this in for legacy as far as much as like it serves our needs, is what we're paying for and what we're getting good market value for us, sort of a due diligence. And the answer might be yes, or we might find something else, and then we are talking about a migration off of the platform to another platform. But ultimately, when we get a donation, we enter the information that we have into Bloomerang, we record it there. If an online donation, this is one of the things that we improved upon when I talked about the 3%. If we take an online donation at the main website, all that information is automatically entered into Bloomerang. So we used to have to do that manually. So it's automatically put into Bloomerang. And then we can pull reports out of Bloomerang. We can, for Pride of the Page, we send a thank you email to attendees, which was, again, 80% open rates and just deepening that relationship. So, so it's a CRM for nonprofits. That's
Right,
all they
right.
do. If that answers your question.
Yeah, it does, thank you.
Yeah.
And the second thing I wanted to mention was really a comment, and that is to everybody, including foundation representatives here. It would seem to me that we really should take time, put on a joint agenda, a serious conversation about the endowment going forward. We've talked about it. We know you're raising money for it ultimately. We know that, we are supporting the effort in order to do that. But all of that goes to say, it seems to me we need together a longer-term strategy that we jointly have cooperated in putting together. And, understand, all of us, where we want that to take us, how we want to use it, and so forth. There are a number of questions. And having that conversation, it seems to me, is really important. Really, we should have that this year sometime.
I like that, Jeannie, don't you? Yeah.
I have to think about it. No, I'm serious. Because we have this division between the foundation and the board, in a way. I understand, and I'm serious about needing to think about your comments, David. Because I just want to think about, I don't want to be in a position where we dictate to the foundation how they set up their endowment. That's their responsibility. They're accountable to us in some other ways for the money we give them, $1 million. I don't know, I need to think about it.
I understand.
And the other issue, I think, well, first of all, we don't have, that's what we're starting with now. So we have some time before we have sufficient funds in there. But where it would be very helpful, I think, and the foundation would welcome the discussion that you're talking about is, well, what do we do with the money?
Yeah.
Right. In other words,
Right.
so if we get
there.
$1 million in there and we're getting 4%, 5% on the $1 million, then there's $50,000. Do you want to roll that over? How do we want to apportion it? Jeannie's voice and her staff, you guys, we might weigh in and say, I think you guys should roll it over for another year because we'll get interest on the interest, that kind of a discussion.
Yeah.
And we'll have all of our viewpoints there. And I think you're right, Al, I appreciate it, because we want to set up a responsible, fiscally responsible, but good method of investing in the endowment. We're going to keep the initial $2 million in the CDs, they're government guaranteed. So whenever you and Jeannie say, or in the city says, we need that money, it's there, and that can go over. The other funds on the endowment would be something that we want to grow together. And then once we hit a certain level that we all agree is the appropriate level, then how do we spend it? Or do we wait for a big, there's all kind of things you could do. Maybe if you had $5 million in there at 5%, that's $250,000. Maybe we want to build another room that we could use at the library, or think about a wing, and we could do a challenge grant with the community and say, we're putting up $250,000. If we get another $250,000, we can do this and so. So that's the kind of thing. Now, we're not at $5 million, right? I mean, we're at
Right.
Bill, so long as we're part of a conversation and not making the decision. You have 24 board members. Who
Yes.
are all really quite incredible. I have absolute faith that those 24 board members of the foundation can answer all of those questions and move forward. So if there were a conversation, it would simply be whatever observations we have or input. I would not feel comfortable being in a position of telling you how to do it. That's my only concern.
I'm not comfortable with that either, but I think it is important that we be able to share our ideas and our vision. I think that's really important, and it's really important for us to hear what your ideas are and your vision is.
Yes.
And then, not necessarily telling you what to do, but just understanding what each of us is
Yeah,
looking for
absolutely.
or wants, right? I
Right.
mean, are you,
Yeah, yes,
That's
exactly.
where we're going, I think.
And I do feel, as a trustee, it's incumbent upon us to bear in mind our fiduciary responsibility over the trust funds of the library. That's part of why we're here. And so, what do those look like long-term? What will they be used for long-term? Those are legitimate questions that we have been authorized to take on by our appointment on this board. And so I don't want to just kind of, drift through that as we're at this really pivotal moment in the history not only of that building, but in the history of these trust funds, the endowment, that whole, right, the whole financial structure that relates to that and to operations.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement. And
If I can interject a little bit.
Please.
We just have to remember which part is which, which part is the trust fund and which part was raised by the foundation and is their own separate 501c3. So, yes, definitely input, suggestions and all of that, but then what, the endowment itself will be their money to work with us to do that. But then your fiduciary responsibilities will be literally in the trust fund that's in the city's money. But I mean, like you said, for now, the $1 million that's out, it will come back, and that will go into the renovation. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure we're all clear on
the demarcation, yeah.
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 And we further, the big commitment that we have is to the donor, right? I mean, we're custodians of their donation. So we need to, they're giving us funds so that we can apply that to the library. So we have to be mindful of that those funds go to the library, and we take, that's the most serious thing that we take, is to be good custodians of that. And it helps us to work with you, it helps us to work with Jeannie and her team on that. And then, where we know where the lines of demarcation are, then we can each do our job to the best of our ability, and we all win then.
so, I'm not a financial person, so I don't have full understanding of how everything works. But obviously, if you're taking money in for the library, it's for the library. It's not for you or for
Nope.
you.
Correct.
It's for the library. That's
Right.
what it's for. As the money grows, I mean, do you have to, at the very beginning of this growing of this money, do you have to say it's going to be allocated in these ways? We're going to use it only for these things? Or can it, as it evolves, can you add other things and say, so now we've decided that, a certain percentage of it is going to be used in this manner or in that manner? I mean, is that what happens? Or do you have to initially set boundaries and say, this is exactly what money's going to be used in this percentage for this, I don't know, let's say building maintenance or for books or for, is
We
that-
don't have to segregate it that way.
Okay.
That's what we would work out with you guys.
Okay.
The caveat to that is, some people want naming,
Okay.
so we have to honor the naming. That has to go through the approval process for the city, and so things would be named. What you do with those funds, we now have some naming situations that are going to be in a CD, right? Because we've gotten that cash in. Other pledges are going to be coming in, and we'll just add to that. Now, when we get to the $2 million, we have $1 million from you guys, and when we get all the cash from the pledges, that'll be another $1 million, so that'll be $2 million. That's all in the CDs. Now we're gonna start working on the endowment. Now, with the endowment, we're gonna wanna take on a little bit more risk so we get a higher return.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, so that's one principle there. The other principle on that is somebody might come to us and say, I want to give you $50,000 and I want it spent on LGBTQ programming.
Right.
So then we have to keep tabs on that when Jeannie wants to do a program or somebody comes to them and said, hey, I'll give you $25,000, you got another 20. We have that money to deploy for that purpose. So that's really the only restriction.
Okay, so if the donor
Expressly asked.
specifically.
Yes, I'm giving you this for this express purpose. And it might be,
Okay.
I want to make sure that there's a children's reading program every year. Okay, well, we put that money to work and then Jeannie says, I need $15,000 a year or whatever it is, and then we make a provision to do that.
In many ways, I've been working with endowments for years, but it's a shell game. It really is. And in this respect, you were probably already going to buy children's books for the library. But now you've got a funding source. Somebody comes in and say, here, I'm going to give you this money for that. So the money that you had allocated from just what other sources, you move into something else, and then you bring in that money to cover an expenditure you already were planning to do. And that's why I've always called it a shell game, because you're really substituting $1 for another. And you're honoring the wishes of the donor,
Yes.
but you're also honoring your overall plan of what you're planning to do with the funding. So
Okay, so
Does that help?
Yeah, so the money that is raised in the endowment, if it's not for a specific purpose, it can be used in any manner.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll figure it out
Okay, that's.
together.
Right.
Like a good example of that is if somebody comes to our website and says, I love the library, here's $20 donation, we take that in and we can apply that wherever we want. It's unsolicited and unrestricted.
Okay, good.
Thanks a lot. I'm sorry we went on. We probably overtook the agenda here.
No, that was
One
great.
thing
It
I
was
wanted
very
to,
informative. Yes.
I wanted to mention was that in the past, we've done this where maybe once a year, we have a joint meeting where we have the Friends, the Foundation, and the trustees all meet together and invite them to come and give a report like this, to kind of give an update of what's going on, what their goals are, so that it's a way to inform the community who's watching and the different organizations, so that you're all in the same room
Could
together.
I ask a question when you mentioned the Friends and the Foundation and the trustees? Maybe at some point you can give me the history of the board, history on why we have 3, or at least 2 external
I can
entities.
do it quickly.
Very easy.
Yes, so, well, of course, the Library Board of Trustees is a governing board, well,
But
it's.
that one I understand.
That one's governed by the
Right.
California Education Code. We're required to have a 5-member board overseeing the municipal library. The Friends of the Library was founded in 1971, and
How
they.
was it founded?
How?
How?
Just a group of people said, we need to do this. And then in 1975, they became an official 501c3.
They are a 501c3.
Absolutely. So they've been a 501c3 for 50 years, and they have raised money through so many different things, book sales. Now they're doing these house tours, Palm Springs Speaks,
So they're coordinating
donations.
with the foundation.
Yeah, so they are separate groups. So at one point, members of the Library Board of Trustees actually asked the Friends of the Library, do you want to do a foundation? It's been requested to have a library foundation for years so that there can be capital campaign fundraising going on. And the Friends said, that's outside of our capacity, we really don't want to do that. So then the trustees consulted with the city attorney, and they got a board together and formed a nonprofit that is the Library Foundation, with their main rah-rah goal of raising money for this renovation of the library capital campaign. Once the capital campaign's over, they're still going to do different types of fundraising from the Friends. So 2 different groups.
But do they coordinate?
Well, through my requests, sort of. I would say that I divert
That's an iffy answer.
children's programming and book requests right now through the Friends of the Library. I do more technology, and right now capital campaign through the foundation. Once the foundation's really up and running, we might say that we really want to focus on, well, LGBTQ programming and issues might go through the foundation. And, still children's programming might be here. Teen technology might be there. So a lot of technology going through the foundation. So it's all 100% in support of the library. So just how we.
So I have an example of coordination. So with the recent move, the Friends put out a call to say, hey, we need to refill our books that we want to sell. And so our board said to everybody, hey, if you have books, coordinate with the Friends and let's get them books. And so I drove a carload of books over. I know other board members drove a carload. It was like, so we're very supportive of their efforts. And I know they come to our meetings and we go to their meetings. So yeah, I think we are coordinated. We're not working against each other. That is not happening that I've seen.
I think you're doing fundraising in different ways. too.
Yes.
Yeah.
You are doing maybe one-on-one consultations with people trying to get those legacy gifts and larger donations, and then the Friends are doing the dollar here, dollar there that adds up too.
And they have a subscription model, they have a membership model.
Mm-hmm.
So every year you give a certain amount of money to be a member. And then they provide so many volunteers, so they organize that. And so, the foundation hasn't really been in a position to coordinate more than maybe Nancy Morrison comes to our board meetings and Ed McBride represents us at their board meetings. And so there's a crossover there. I think as we get further on, because when the new building is built and occupied and the first $2 million is used and we're moving ahead on endowment, advocacy, and these kinds of things, there'll be many more opportunities to share efforts, I think. So we're kind of looking at that. I know we're probably going to talk about that in the May strategy session,
Good.
So it's on the table.
Okay.
Well, the Friends also support you in providing volunteers for Pride on the Page every year. since
They
it
do.
started.
They're
Yeah,
they're
so-
excellent at that.
Yeah, so I mean,
you
it
know,
goes
that-
both ways, for sure.
It does. And
Absolutely.
what I like too, now that we're doing all these emailings, we have library content, we have Friends of the Library content, we have foundation content, right? And so it's all kind of a merger of activity that hits the community in the right way and shows that there's all kinds of people advocating and volunteering and pushing for the library, so people take advantage of these activities and so on. And I know, when that new building gets, you get rolling with your activities in that new building, it's going to be a great day. It really will be.
And the good thing about having the two nonprofits is that we provide an option for people to give. They can give to both. We're happy for that. But, if some people want to say, what, I really, I don't have the capacity to give a legacy gift, but I can give my books and I can give my time or my small donations, that it just provides a variety of ways for people to give. And so we just want to encourage everybody to give.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
I think that's great. Well, I think that we should get together, all
Yes.
three of us, and just have everybody do a little presentation. But afterwards, I think there should be a little party. We should be, no, I'm serious. I think that it's really nice to socialize and
Yes.
really get to know people. And I'm very serious about that. So let's do plan on having a social event after.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll figure out when a good idea.
When that would be possible, yes, I understand. Okay, well, thank you
Thank
so
you very
very
much
much
for
for
your
your
attention.
presentation. It was very informative. Thank you so much.
Do you have to accept the?
Do I have to accept
Like,
that?
you have to do like a motion and second for that? It's an agenda item.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept the report from the foundation?
So moved.
Second.
Great, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the library staff report.
One thing that we love to do every year is our In-N-Out Burger cover-to-cover book club. So kids ages 4 through 12 participate every year, and for every 5 books that they read, they get a free hamburger, cheeseburger, cheese sandwich, I
It's
think.
only for kids.
Yeah, I know. They can read up to, basically, they can read up to 15 books and earn 3 burger certificates. And we've been doing this since the beginning of time, I think, because in all my years as being a librarian, we've done the In-N-Out Burger program. And some of the things the anecdotes that I remembered is that some of the kids will come in and they'll sit down with their family and they'll read the books and do the certificates and then take their parents to dinner with their burger certificates. And, it's just really cute for the whole family. And for kids who are, well, it's ages 4, right? 3 or 4.
4.
Yeah, so they probably can't read, but the parents can read to them and it counts, The program runs March 7th through April 18th, so there's lots of time to do this. It's going to be fun for the whole family. Oh. PalmSpringsLibrary.org. I'm sure there's a registration link. Or you can use the Beanstack app, which we're going to use for summer reading this year. So we've used it before. It's a great little reading tracking program. Let's see. Speaking of children, our children's librarian, Nancy Valdivia, is going to be receiving an award at the Palm Springs Women's Club, and that will be on March 26th. So that's all I'm saying about it. But we're very proud of her to have being recognized. It's our children's librarian,
Oh, okay.
Nancy Valdivia.
And do you know what time that's going to happen?
It's a gala. It's the Palm Springs Women's Club Gala.
Okay.
And it's in Cathedral City, and it's a Thursday. I think it's an evening. It's like 5 to 7.
Okay, so like they sell tickets, you need to buy a ticket
Yes,
to
it's
go.
a ticketed
Okay.
event,
Okay,
a fundraiser for the Palm Springs Women's Club.
all right.
Let's see. Several of my staff, including me, are going to be receiving CPR and first aid training. So it's a good reminder for everybody to check your first aid kits and your emergency kits and all of that. And we've got several people who have already gone through the training, but now it's the next round. So more of us get to go. Let's see. The Library Foundation, we are working on naming rights, and we're possibly taking them to City Council on April 8th. We've got a couple of bigger names that need to go to council for approval. So we'll be working on that, getting the official date. I don't think it's going to go March 26th because the agenda is really packed, but we'll see. I'll let you know for sure. And one of the things that we'd like to do is invite the people getting recognized for their naming opportunities and have the council recognize them for that. There's so these are names $100,001 and greater.
Wow.
So over $100,000 gifts have to go to City Council for approval. Anything $25,000 to $100,000 go to the city manager, and anything lower than that goes through me. So we've got quite a few names in the city manager category too. So that's a really wonderful
That's great.
thing that's going to happen. Which my plan is to include that information in the city council staff report so that it's out there for everybody to see all the different tiers of people being recognized.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. We at the Wellwood Murray Memorial Library. I don't know if you've seen the Pez exhibit.
Yes.
It's super cute. The owner of it, Dawn, has refreshed it and added some new items in there. So the exhibit's going to run through the end of March. So we encourage everybody, even if you've seen it already, to go back because there's some new things, some Easter, Pez, and Valentine's Day dispensers on display. I love that. It is currently the city's boards and commissions board recruitment time. So March 1st through April 30th of each year is the time to apply if you want to join the board of any sorts of our city, including the library board, because we have termed up Juanita.
But they may never fill that position, and she can
Oh, she
continue.
can just stay, just stay
No,
forever. Yeah. So yeah, they've got it more streamlined now so that it's a certain time window for people to apply. So the window is open now, so be sure to put in your application. And I think even who's up for renewal?
Deborah Schwartz, isn't she?
Yeah, I think Deborah's up.
Somebody else needs to reapply for the
I have
second term.
one more year.
Okay, one more year, and then.
And
You've got
that would be my reappointment. so
Deborah
that would be
Schwartz.
mine.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Deb will need to reapply if she wants to continue for the next term. So, time has flown by,
It has, it
hasn't
has.
it? And then Julie has some things she wants to talk about. I think I have one more item, but it's on the agenda, so. Julie, let's talk about events.
Yes, so I just want to remind everyone, on Tuesday, the 10th, we are having a West African harp program at the Rimrock Library. So in the evening at 6 to 7 o'clock, we're going to have this musical presentation. So it's our first time of having an evening program like that at the library, and we're going to see how the public responds, if they like it, if they don't, that kind of thing. But it's going to be a fascinating program, a very interesting instrument. And so I encourage everyone to come out from 6 to 7 on Tuesday, the 10th.
Parking is tight at 6 PM at our location, so get there
There's a
early.
big parking lot,
Get there
not just
early.
by the library.
Yeah.
All right, and then our Oscar films continue. We started screening Oscar films last weekend. We had a good response, and they continue. We're showing a variety of films, everything from Begonia to the Diane Warren, Relentless documentary, to Song Sung Blue, to Zootopia too. So lots of different films that we're showing at the Wellwood Library each weekend, Friday and Saturday, through March 15th. Our annual Let's Talk Oscars program is going to be on Wednesday, March 11th at Mizell Center at 6 o'clock. It's a really fun time where we kind of talk about all the front runners, the snubs, and everything in between. So it's a really fun and entertaining program. And then, of course, we continue with our Oswald Land Trust monthly lectures. And this month, on the 12th, is about burrowing owls. Hard to say. And so lots of things coming up. But I do want to draw attention to Sunday, March 29th. We are working with the producer of the Palm Springs Book Festival for that Sunday programming, which is the Community Free Day. All of our organizations, the foundation, as well as the Friends and the library, are going to be represented that day. Each will have a table at the event all day. It is at the Festival Theaters in Palm Springs. The foundation has sponsored a screening of the documentary The Librarians. So if you did not get a chance to see it at the International Film Festival, this will be rescreened at the Palm Springs Book Festival on that Sunday. The library is also bringing Kate Luckenbill to talk about her grandfather's book, and both her and her mother added some things to the book, and it's being re-released. And so we're going to be sponsoring her appearance there. Also, we're going to be having story time from Chief Andy Mills is going to read a story, Bella DeBall is going to read a story, and Grace Gardner, council member, is going to read a story. And so lots of fun things going on, but there's other programming throughout the day. There's going to be 3 different tiers of programming all day, so community come out, and all for free. I know a couple of the other foundation board members. Corey Roskin is going to lead a writing workshop. Maggie Downs and her son are going to do a presentation. So, the library is going to be well represented at that book festival. And this is something that there was a Palm Springs Book Festival for many years, way back in the day. And Jason Blitman is trying to bring it back. He has a really great lineup on Friday and Saturday. And then Sunday, again, is the Community Free Day. So we're really excited about this and about participating. So you can go online, psbookfest.org, and sign up for information about the Community Free Day, and then learn what else is going on at the festival. But we're very excited about participating. And I think that's all I have for now.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's all I have too.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move on to the treasurer's report.
Yes, this is the most interesting report I will have made, because there was only one transaction between February and March. And that was the $1 million withdrawal. But I've never seen this happen before. So the remaining balance minus $1 million is exactly the same as it was the month before, down to the pennies.
Okay.
So I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that, other than the only expenditure was $1 million.
Okay, very good.
That's it.
Do I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
Move to accept as presented.
I will second that.
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Got that part.
Spent an hour trying to
Okay.
figure this out, but
There you go.
that's simple.
Okay, so the foundation, we've gotten the library foundation report. And so now we're going to move on to item B to discuss the current budget status and determine if a fiscal year 26-27 ad hoc budget committee is needed. So I'm gonna ask you,
Yes.
Judy, what do you think?
So on page 25 of your packet, I ran a little spreadsheet showing your current fiscal year approvals and whatnot, and then estimated what we're gonna do next year. So on the top, we have the starting balance of the beginning of the year, $1,563,398.51. And then you authorized $10,000 for trust fund books originally, and then we got the donation of $4,000. So that's why the $14,000
Right.
for trust fund books. And then you just in February approved the $14,400 for the Library Foundation's drawdown of their original, whatever that amount grant is.
Right.
And then $1 million spent. So then we also have unallocated or restricted funds. We have just cash balance of $177,732.77 of unallocated money. Didn't assign it to anything. The Cropitzer fund, the Cropitzer donation, that one is a restricted fund, so we always put that as a separate line item. So there's $169,000 in that account. I mean, it's not even a separate account, but I guess it's a separate line item. And then the Library Foundation, this is the money that you approved that's left over that they haven't requested yet. It's $187,600. And then I documented the $4,000 donation plus a $50 donation and a $25 donation, which, did we put that in the packet?
Yeah.
The donations,
Yeah.
we got $25.
Yep.
So, thank you to Renee Glickman for her $25 donation, and we sent her a thank you letter. Now, in the next, so we're gonna land, if everything stays the same, I'm not recording interest income either because it's chaos. It's hard, it's too hard to calculate, estimate, and explain, so there is interest income. I know we've already received the first 2 quarters. We're ignoring that for now because that'll land in the unallocated future projects account. But we're gonna start the year estimating it at $539,000. You already had approved this budget last year to spend $10,000 in the Cropitzer for books. And then we still have that carry down from the foundation, the $187,600. And then that's it. And so then what we would be left with is $181,800 of unrestricted, unallocated money, and $159,000 in the Cropitzer account. So at the end of next year, if you receive no interest income, no donations, nothing, you would have $341,000.
Okay.
If they spent all their money and, that's how it is. So the question is, since we just did this, do you have any need, first of all, do you have any need to develop a subcommittee to go have a separate meeting to talk about future things, or is there anything, and secondly, which I don't think there is, and then secondly, I think, is there anything else that you really wanted to make changes to for next year's budget, or are there any things additional that you wanted to add or spend, or you want to just save? So.
My answer is no and no.
No subcommittee and
No
no changes.
The only thing I would ask is, you, or do you foresee any changes? Do you think that,
I think we should save,
okay,
because that's the lowest it's ever been in my life.
okay.
You know, so.
Right, okay.
I think we should just save it, and then if something does come up, you know, if we say, oh, but I do want to talk about my actual operating budget too. I want to
Okay.
tell you about that too, but, David, you were starting to say something, or?
Well, I think this exemplifies why I think it's worth a conversation about the trust funds. I would hate to see that we get to a point where there's basically nothing there.
Well, it might, actually, I kind of feel the opposite, because it's a lot of work. And if we spend it for what it was intended for, which is basically the library renovation, and the foundation is kind of acting as if, you know, if they develop this giant endowment that's beautiful and has a lot of money, and they're constantly supporting us, then it kind of supersedes the need for a separate trust fund. The trust fund was there because there was, you know.
Because there was no foundation.
There was
right?
there wasn't, even before then, there was no Friends, you know, and there was no foundation. So money just needed a place to land at the city. And so in theory, you know, most library boards don't have money that they manage if they're really only, if the city supports, you know, if it's a city department, you know, they have nonprofits that support them with the money, so.
Well, and the other thing, you know, I know we've discussed many times here, is that the city of Palm Springs is limited in how it can invest the money. And there are opportunities to make more money for the library, but because they are the city, they can't do that. And so having the foundation and them having the freedom to invest the way they want, we're actually able to bring in more interest.
Yeah, and I'm very proud of the foundation. I mean, they launched their capital campaign October 27th, and they've already raised $1 million,
Right. Yeah,
over
that's-
$1 million
that's
to match
outstanding.
your money. So,
Yeah.
I mean, look how quickly that was raised. So that, you know, shows me that the community is in support of us, in support of them, and you know, it's just a really good testament to how good that is. But I do want to talk about my budget a little bit.
Okay.
I'm not doomsdaying, but you know, and the finance department did give a presentation that they're optimistic that things are going to be good. But I know when they did the budget at the city council for the whole year, they were a little short. So what the finance department did was they did across the city cuts. So they sliced off a little bit out of each department. What they did was they did a percentage cut off of the materials and supplies account. But what happened was it inadvertently affected us larger than almost any department in the city.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but I mean, this year we're okay. Next year I may have to ask for some money from the Friends, probably the Friends of the library at that point. Because you think about the words materials and supplies, and you think, oh, toner, paper. At the library, it's books and programming. So our materials and supplies account we had several different accounts that all got rolled into an account called materials and supplies. And for us, it's almost our entire operating budget. And so when they did a percentage cut off of each department's materials and supplies, it hurt us horribly compared to other departments. Some departments had zero because they just don't buy any supplies. So for us, our cut was greater than the police department's cut. And the police department's budget is $46 million and ours is 3.5. So the dollar amount, we had more money cut out of our budget. So our overall percentage, it really affected us. So our cut was $93,000 out of our budget, $93,600 this year. So I have found the money by like slicing it off of different other accounts, squishing things a little bit. We're in some ways we're fortunate because we're in the smaller library, but we're still buying the books. So we're buying the books and we're keeping our collection large, purchase-wise because we don't want to see a dip in information. So as you buy content year after year, the information needs to stay consistent, so you don't have this big gap. Like in 2008, no books were purchased. So, I mean, obviously that stuff's old now, but in 2010, you would look at the library's collection and you go, well, nothing's been bought. We haven't bought anything for 2 years. And so there's like this lack of information. And so everything would be old all at once. And then you'd have to replace all of that in a larger time. So when we buy a little bit for each subject matter so that, you can afford to buy it. It's complicated, but like my
I'm
hand
assuming you brought this to
description.
the city's attention, the disproportionate cut. What was their response?
Well, I did meet with the assistant city manager and the finance director, and he did apologize, but he said he can't make any changes because he had to balance the budget. But he said that he's optimistic about the revenues, and we're first in line if there's an increase in money, so.
Can this be, is this something that can be changed for future?
Well,
So
and then
that- so
next
that-
year, the cut, what did I write down? Hold on, let me find my number. So this year it was $93,600 cut, and then next year, I didn't do the math, but, so $157,000.
Cut?
Yeah,
We
But-
have to speak up now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking
so
that.
next year is a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To lose $150,000. I mean, the 93,000s are adult fiction, nonfiction, and.
But it's
like,
the
But it's
disproportionate
the,
cut.
yeah.
It's like our whole book collection.
Exactly. But why does it have to be, why does all that have to go under materials? Can't you?
Yeah, well, we did it to simplify. It's kind of funny. We did that to simplify our accounting. The finance department did this years ago, and because we had all these different, we had separate accounts for everything, and it was, cumbersome.
Can we go back to that? I mean, I hate that material, if it's materials and and the library is getting cut more than the police department, that just doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
I feel like we need to have a separate,
So it's, fire got cut the most, then the library, then the police, and the police only got cut 65,000. We got cut 93,000.
yeah,
Can
that makes no sense.
Can I
at
tag
all.
on to what you're saying, Juanita?
Yeah,
We're a library. Books are the substance of our program, along with the events, of
Well, of
course.
course,
But, I
yeah.
mean, we start with books
Right.
as a library.
Right.
It's, therefore, it would seem to me that is program expense, in the sense that a typical nonprofit would divide its expenditures among program, development, and administration. We're not talking about administration here, we're talking about our actual program when
Right.
it comes to books.
Yeah. Yeah, so
It shouldn't be quote, materials and services.
right.
It's
Yeah,
not
it
like-
was an easy, it was, they do admit that they did not realize what was happening when they did the across-the-board cut, because they didn't realize what we were charging. And that's why the fire too, and police also, their cuts are so big, because they have so many different expenses out of that one account that are,
Well, what can we do
Bullets.
to alter?
Well, yeah, to change that in the future.
So I think this year I think we'll come screaming in right on budget. We're gonna be like super tight. But next year, I think
So what can
if
we
they
do?
if they don't rectify our budget next year, we definitely need,
Well, we can't wait till
Speak up.
next year to hope they rectify the budget.
and it's a
Seems to me
2-year
we have to
budget,
be-
so it's already been adopted, but,
But
I
is there
think-
something that we can do for the next time? I mean,
I
I
think-
really want to
I
be
think some
prepared.
advocacy, I don't wanna, also, I don't wanna, create havoc if there's no havoc to be had, like, if it's gonna be fixed, I don't wanna do that, but I want,
Doesn't
and
sound like it's gonna be fixed.
and
Can
then
we ask the
everybody's
city
aware of it.
manager to come meet with us?
maybe, I mean, you definitely can.
I mean, what strikes my mind is we ask the city manager to come talk with us about this very issue.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there has to be a change.
Yeah.
I'm with
Because
Al on that.
I think there's no way that this can continue.
No.
I feel
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, we can do that. I think, and the city council report, the last time, they did talk about the revenues and how they were optimistic that they were gonna have more money,
But we
so
need
I
the city
think.
manager to understand better what it is we do. So I'm making a formal motion that we invite the city manager to have a conversation in and around the budget
I
process.
second that.
Okay, hold on.
Yes.
Yeah, let's see.
This is where our fiduciary responsibility comes in.
Let's see, to discuss budget, right?
Yes,
Okay, so for.
specifically the material, most of the
Yeah.
portion of the budget.
Yeah, and I like what David said, the separation between administrative and
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah, 'cause
we
the
need to have a
percentage-wise-
conversation. He needs to understand the impact of what our business is.
And I did,
Most
you
people
know, I
don't
did.
understand our business.
I did report it, and, you know, I know that they're aware, but when you run the percentage numbers.
I suspect you were more delicate than some of us might
I'm
be.
very diplomatic.
Yes, I
So-
suspect you were. We will be less diplomatic, but diplomatic up to a point.
Yeah, so I will say the three departments combined took 52% of the budget, of the brunt of the cuts. So I took 19% of the total cut citywide. And my little old department, I'm not kidding, my budget's like 3.5 million. So if you compare that to the full department's budget, the fire budget cut was 0.33%. The police was 0.14%, and mine was 2.93%. So basically, I took a 3% budget cut without knowing it. We discovered it in October, I think, and we're like, "Ooh, where did money go?" So yeah, that's adult fiction, nonfiction, and hot off the press bestsellers combined. If you
So
took that,
can we
that's zero.
try to get him on the
Yeah.
agenda for our next meeting?
You have a motion on the table.
Yes, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
You want that for April?
if we can, yeah, if we can. It would be nice to just get it settled. And
Mhm.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
if they are gonna make a change, I'd like to know
Mhm.
there's gonna be a change,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, I would love that because, I mean, in the big scheme of the citywide budget, $93,000 is nothing.
No, but in respect
But for
to
us, it's
our
painful.
budget and
Right.
the percentage cut,
It's so
it's
painful.
significant in terms of what it
Yeah,
goes.
and then next year is even worse. We haven't figured out how we were gonna balance it.
Well, we're supposed to be reopening. so.
Yeah, and next year, yeah, yes.
But that's what we need to, the trustees need
We're
to have
gonna
a
reopen and
conversation.
we're gonna have empty shelves. That'll be
We're gonna
good.
reopen and need extra everything. And, yeah, that's gonna move. Yeah, that's part of it, yeah, anyway. So anyway, so 7B, to discuss determine if you need an ad hoc subcommittee and talk about the money, and you all, I heard.
I think we've addressed that a different way.
Okay.
All right.
No ad hoc needed, though.
No ad hoc needed.
Okay.
Okay, so do I need to,
No, I think that's
that's it?
good.
Okay,
On that one,
all right. And then we'll move on to C, select volunteers for nominating committee for election of officers to take place at or after July 2026 annual meeting.
So, yeah, I put that on there, and I realize you only have 3 people here right now, so we could carry that forward if you need to,
Okay.
but,
You and I have always been on it.
I mean, I'm willing, are you,
Yeah.
is that okay with you?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, so Al and I will do
Oh.
that.
oh, David said something
Oh,
different.
David, who's gonna do it? Are you gonna do it with me?
Oh,
or-
he was saying it's okay to carry it forward.
Yeah, that's what I was
Well,
Only
to
two
responding.
carry
the
it
two of
forward.
us.
Oh.
I was always Juanita and myself that were doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah, no, I was responding to Jeannie.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
sorry.
He agrees, right?
No, you
I'm
wanna.
for whatever you say. In this case.
Okay, so Al, you and I will get together.
Okay.
Okay. This is
Volunteer.
confusing.
I know, sorry, I butted in. So Al Jones and Juanita Garner are volunteering
We have
to
nothing to
be
do for
the
a while
nominating
anyway.
committee.
Okay,
Okay.
great. Okay.
And then you got
Okay.
7D?
And we've got 7D, discussion, library renovation updates, my favorite part.
Yeah. And I didn't even bring any fun pictures or anything.
That's okay. Tell us about it.
They have done some big concrete pours, so they have so they trenched out, added electrical and plumbing conduits, and now they're pouring concrete. We apologize to the neighbors for all of this noise. I'm sure it's lovely over there. But they have done a lot of concrete pour. They've still got more to do. Admin, we got to go inside. Oh, that was exciting. And got to take a tour, and the seismic retrofitting is impressive. I mean, one of the footings that they did, I put it in the library newsletter, so if you're not on the newsletter, be sure to sign up for our newsletter. I included a picture of a man standing in a hole that was probably up to his chest, and they poured that in as a seismic concrete footing to support the building. It's unbelievable, the work that they're doing. There are no windows or doors in this place. I'm trying to think what else is big. One thing that's going to happen in a couple of months is that they're going to flip the parking lot usage. So right now you can use the front part on Baristo.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to do the work on the south end around May, and then they'll flip the usage of the parking lot, so you'll only be able to enter on Sunrise and use that south end of the parking lot while they finish the work on the north end of the parking lot. So that's something that will happen right before baseball season. We're sorry.
It's
We're
gotta
sorry.
happen.
Any other things that I needed to tell them about that? I can't think.
They're on schedule.
Yeah, they're on schedule, no big surprises.
Okay.
That's really good. Really, really good. Yeah.
So do we need to, I mean, other than telling you that we want to meet with Scott Stiles, we don't need to do anything else?
Mm-mm.
Okay,
No.
okay. Anybody have anything else they want to add? No, okay. Very good. So it is,
6:56.
6:56. The library, the meeting of the Library Board of Trustees is now adjourned. And our next scheduled meeting is going to be on Thursday, April 9th, and we are going to be meeting in the same room. Thank you,
Yes.
everyone.
Thanks, everybody.